The Worldmap panel is used to present data related to geographical locations on a map background. There are a couple of configuration steps that need to occur before you can make use of the panel. First, you may need to configure the panel provider. If you open a Worldmap panel and see this message, then you do need to go and configure a provider. Let's quickly have a look at that. I'll head off to the Dashboard Manager, select the Preferences tab, and here we see the Worldmap Preferences section. Our default map provider, subdomains used by the provider, attribution required by the provider, and whether to allow panel-specific overrides to this default configuration. The link here will open a page on the Statseeker documentation site detailing everything we need to know about map providers. You can go and find a map provider that's going to suit your needs. You might already have an internal map tiling service running within your network. Basically, we just need a service offering a resource endpoint utilizing the OpenStreetMap standard X, Y, and Z parameters. Down the bottom, we have a table with a few example provider configurations. I'll just make use of one of these. I'll take the map provider URL, the attribution, and note that this service uses subdomains of A, B, and C. Add the subdomains and drop in the attribution and save the configuration. Back in my dashboards, add a Worldmap panel, and now we have our map. The other item we need is latitude and longitude data for any infrastructure you want presented on the map. If I have a look at the device details report, I can see that there is no geolocation data associated with the devices on my network. The primary way to update this information on your server is importing geolocation data via the admin tool. I select admin tool, Statseeker administration, geolocation import and export. We need to provide our geolocation data in CSV format, and here we have the details around the acceptable syntax for that CSV data. Header row detailing the syntax provided, and then one row per device. The easiest method to proceed here is simply use the export option. This will generate a CSV containing all the geolocation data that's currently in the system. I can simply edit the file, add my latitude and longitude data, save it, and then re-upload the edited file. Now, in the background, this will have added a config rebuild to the server cron, so it may take a minute or two before the change is reflected in the dashboards or reports. And there are three other methods of associating geolocation data with devices monitored by Statseeker, and that's on an individual basis, via auto-grouping rules, or via the API. And those methods are covered in detail in the documentation, and there's also a video walking you through them. I'll just refresh our report, and we can see now we have our data in the system, and we're set up to use the Worldmap panel. So let's make a panel presenting the current ping between the Statseeker server and some remote offices. I'll add the panel, jump into edit mode. I'll set query to value by location. The object I want is device. I already have a group containing the devices I want presented on this panel. For the fields, I select time series, ping RTT, it defaults to average, and we'll stick with that one for now. Refresh, and we have our data presented on the map. So let's make it a little bit more useful. There are a range of presentation options in the Worldmap tab. I'm going to enable mouse zoom, adjust the hotspot sizes and presentation, and I'm going to assign some color ranges to the values here. Now, the values are using the dashboard time filter. I want current values, so maybe let's override the dashboard time filter. I can go with an average ping for the last 5 minutes. I could also make this display the current ping rather than the last 5-minute average. To do that, I'll remove the time filter override, and then back in the metrics tab, I'll update the data format to current, and then refresh. Either one of those two options is probably a good way to go. By default, all map panel locations are rendered as links that will send you to a basic table featuring the devices found in the location and the metric that's being presented on the panel. So if you have multiple devices in a location and you're reporting an average of all those devices, as we are here, you can use the link to get to the details on the values comprising that average. This report is in turn linked back to the device overview where it's appropriate. Those drill downs that we've just walked through are automatically configured when you use the Worldmap panel. There's nothing you need to do to enable that. And that's a quick look at both prepping your server for the Worldmap panel and configuring the Worldmap panel to present your data. There's more detail on these processes and examples in the documentation.